Welcome to the third session. In this session, we will look into how to be responsible for the institute and facilitation of disciplinary policies, actions, and hearings. All hearings need to be recorded in writing in the minutes of the hearing. The complainant and the respondent are both entitled to a copy of the minutes. The minutes can be tape recorded if both parties agree. The person who is being accused is not entitled to legal representation at the disciplinary hearing unless the employer agrees. In order for the hearing to take place, there are certain people who should be present because of the role they play. The people required to be present include the chairman, the complainant, the accused, and the representative for the accused. If there is need for a translator, you can have one. The chairperson is responsible for keeping the meeting in order and ensures that everyone is behaving appropriately. The chairperson is responsible for finding out whether the accused is guilty or not, using evidence that is placed before him during the negotiation. If the verdict is not in favor of the accused, they have the right to lodge a written notice of appeal within 7 days of the final hearing, which will reveal the grounds on which the appeal is based. Misconduct is breaking a policy, rule, regulation, procedure, or standard of behavior in a workplace. It can be deliberate or unintentional. Employees need to be aware of the rules and policies. They cannot be held liable for their actions done, with them not knowing that they were breaking a rule or standard. Therefore, an employer must consistently apply rules, policy, and regulations so that there is no chance for misconduct, and if there is, then everyone will be aware of it and someone can be held accountable. Misconduct reports require certain information in order to be acknowledged and for a formal investigation to take place. The information required is the date, time, and place at which the transgression took place, a full description of what happened, the name of the transgressor, and lastly, the names of any witnesses. A disciplinary proceeding deals with matters of misconduct, whereas the process of evaluation, guidance, counseling, training, and so forth deal with the matters of incapacity, incompatibility, and poor performance. In cases of misconduct, a disciplinary investigation, inquiry, and sanction are applied. The purpose of the disciplinary process is to fix any unacceptable or undesirable situation through means of applying progressive disciplinary measures and sanctions, gradually becoming stricter if the employee does not comply. Dismissal of the employee is the last resort if all other means fail repeatedly. It is very helpful to create a case with strong evidence. This plays a great part when the case is presented to the arbitrator at the CCMA. Presenting a weak case can result in losing the case. If the employer is not interested in spending the necessary time in preparation for the hearing, another factor that could contribute to it is not knowing how to prepare for the disciplinary hearing, and in this case, it is important to have the people responsible for the discipline to get full understanding of how to prepare and present a case at an arbitration or disciplinary hearing. When preparing a case, you should assess the allegation to see if the accuser has ulterior motives or is honestly reporting misconduct. The management responsible for discipline should investigate the incident and the circumstances leading to the alleged incident of misconduct. The disciplinary team should evaluate the gathered evidence to find out whether it constitutes as proof or not, and formulate the charges brought against the accused at the hearing. The disciplinary team will be responsible for deciding who will present evidence at the hearing, the witnesses, and the evidence is to be used. They are also responsible for preparing questions for the employer's witness, as well as the questions to cross-examine the evidence brought by the respondent, and lastly drafting closing statements. Employers and managers do not naturally have the expert skills needed for the preparation and presentation of evidence at a disciplinary hearing, which is why they resort to hiring people with the required skills or arrange for the managers to be trained on how to prepare evidence and how to present it successfully. It is not advisable for an employer to introduce written witness statements into evidence, and they should not let the witnesses read the written statements, because doing this makes the opposing party receive a copy of the written statement, which can be used to cross-examine the witness on the content of the written statement as opposed to a verbal testimony. Employers should prepare their witnesses properly before a hearing and lead him with the evidence. In this way, everything they testify to is included in the written statement, but only does this verbally, and this can be done without even introducing the written statement into evidence. The accused employee or his representative may request adjournment during a hearing so that they can study any documentary evidence that is introduced if the request is reasonable. A case is only as strong as the evidence submitted, which is why it is good to know what rules apply when dealing with certain types of evidence so that it contributes to the hearing instead of it being inadmissible. If an employer is unable to produce proper and acceptable evidence, it will result in them not being able to sustain the charges against the employee and might even work in favor of the accused employee. In order for evidence to have value, it must be open to be challenged by the opposing party and to be cross-examined, and their witnesses to be cross-questioned. There are factors that can cause any evidence presented regarding the person or the circumstances of the offense that might make the chairperson decide on a lesser sanction. These factors are called mitigating factors. Mitigating factors may include age, disciplinary history, state of health, duration left before retirement, and many other factors that might be seen as valid for a lesser sanction. Factors that contribute to the worsening factors are called aggravating circumstances and are submitted to the chairman of the employer's representative. The accused person has the right to lodge any appeal against any formal disciplinary sanctions or findings. An appeal against a sanction may be made to council's standing tribunal, who will appoint up to 4 people to be members of the tribunal. The appeal must be lodged in writing within 7 days of the disciplinary findings and sanction being notified to the staff members in writing. The appeal must state the basis for appeal against the findings or sanction. Anyone who was previously involved in the original inquiry or investigation may not be a member of any committee at the hearing of the appeal. We have come to the end of this session. Let's take a water break and carry on in the next session.